It's time for Optimum's Red Hot Sale. Get 200 meg internet, TV with over 260 channels, and unlimited home phone, all for $69.99 a month for 1 year guaranteed. And for a limited time, HBO and Showtime are included for 1 year. Switch today. Click for details and special web-only offers.
Welcome back to Paranormal Now. I'm your host, Alan B. Smith, and I have a fantastic guest on tonight. I'll tell you about her in just a minute. As usual, if you are listening to the Inception Radio Network, hopefully you're doing so anywhere, on your phone or from the internet. And you can also call the landline number or cell phone number if your smartphone or internet connection is not working. And that number is 888 just kidding. That number is 401-283-6700. Again, that's 401-283-6700. If you're fixing to listen to one of the shows and you can't get internet access for some reason, but you have a cell phone, that's how you can do it. And you can also listen to the Inception Radio Network on Roku, Live 365, Stitcher Radio, Nobex Radio, TuneIn, iTunes Radio, Streama, Shoutcast, Winamp, Win Media Player, and QuickTime, and of course the smartphone app, which is very interactive and has lots of fun things there. So my guest is actually another host from the Inception Radio Network, which I'm happy to have on. You've probably heard of her. If not, I'm glad that you are hearing of her now. Her name is Heidi Hollis, and she has quite the bio. I'm going to go through a couple of things here with you just to introduce her. Heidi Hollis is a truth seeker of the unknown. She is the world's foremost expert on shadow people and the Hat Man phenomena, and actually gave them both their descriptive names in her best-selling books, The Secret War, a true story about a real alien war, and Shadow People, circulated in 1997, originally published in 2001, and The Hat Man, the true story of evil encounters. Her other acclaimed books, Jesus is No Joke, a true story of an unlikely witness who saw Jesus, and Picture Prayers, span a variety of topics based on Jesus and angel encounters. She has also authored and drawn a new graphic novel series, The Fickle Finders, which spans topics from aliens to angels. Her newest work, soon to be released, is a graphic novel to help arm people against evil onslaught with the other, quote, F word. Hollis is also a lively radio show talk show host, which I just mentioned. The name of that show is The Outlander, with 600,000 listeners. The Kevin Cook Show has 860,000 listeners, which I think you co-host. And Paranormal Central, she's also a lecturer, cartoonist, and practicing occupational therapist. Her paranormal comic strip, The Outlanders, which is all over the internet now, is gaining popularity and spans as many topics as paranormally possible. She has spoken across the country and has been featured on a variety of notable radio and television programs worldwide. Heidi, welcome to Paranormal Now.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So I know that you just found out that I also just found out some good news about the Inception Radio Network.
Yep.
And that is that we are now on iHeartRadio.
Yes, we are. Yay!
Yeah, it's fantastic news. So what do you expect do you think you'll see a boost in listenership?
Oh, I definitely think so. I mean, iHeart is absolutely everywhere. So, and it's so accessible. I think a lot of people who may not have found the network will now have the opportunity to scan and find us. And yeah, I definitely think that we're going to gain some cool interests out there, honestly.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've been working hard at it. How many years have you been doing The Outlander?
Ooh, let me think. I have been doing this since the Outlander show, because I've done other shows. I just didn't call it The Outlander. It has been 6 years, yeah. Because I was on CBS Radio as well. Yep.
Okay, wow.
Fun, yeah.
So it's definitely well earned. I'm glad that you're getting a bigger audience as well.
Yeah, it's been going great.
You have so many things that you do. I'm just going to read off here some of the links. So you've got HeidiHollis.com, theoutlanderscomic.com, and I've been, I've seen your cartoons on the Inception Radio Network page, which are awesome illustrations.
You dig them? You dig them? Okay,
I do. Yeah. I mean, it's a great
twisted
concept to have Bigfoot, aliens, and humans living all together on this, I guess.
And ghosts.
And ghosts, yep. Anyway, so the other links would be theoutlanderscomic.com, theotherfword.com, paranormalpledge.com, ficklefinders, ufo2u.com. So, and you have the 2 radio shows that you're actively hosting. How do you find the time?
That's a great question. It's so odd. When I look at it on paper, I'm like, gosh, that looks like I'm really crazy busy. And I guess I am. But I enjoy it so much. My family's always been one of a lot of hobbies. So I've always kind of had something that I was doing. And it's weird. It's like, even if I'm hosting my shows, this is so crazy. I mean, I'll be sitting there like editing a cartoon on my Photoshop. I'm just always multitasking and just having fun. It's all fun. It really is. So I'm never bored. I'm never miserable doing any of this stuff. I love writing. I love drawing. I love doing the radio shows, and I love being a therapist and helping my patients out. So I mean, it's all fun.
And what about your latest work that you've been focusing on? Tell us about that.
Oh gosh, which one? The comic?
I was thinking of the other F word.
Oh, the other F word. That book, that one's been a long time in the making. It's actually complete. I had some horrible bad luck in getting it pulled together to get published. But I'm giving myself a couple of months and getting that like fully ready and to the printers and all that good stuff in a couple of months. So I'll tell you the backstory to that book, because as you mentioned, I cover the topic of shadow people and Hat Man, and I have thousands upon thousands of emails from people all over the globe and dealing with this evil stuff, and I found that people really, they're facing such demonic stuff, and they weren't very religious, they weren't very faithful, or they didn't know how to go about getting that. And I'm like, gosh, and a lot of kids were being the focus of a lot of this demonic activity. And I'm like, well, how do you reach the folks? I'm like, okay, so I used to be a newspaper comic strip artist, and I decided, let me reach the kids. Let me do a book on the other F word. So Fickle Finders investigates the other F word. That's the first book, and it's over 200 pages. It's done like Wimpy Kid kind of style with the notebook lines and everything, and to try to be inviting to kids. And I put it out there, and I'm like, oh, this will be cool to see what kids think of it. And lo and behold, I didn't hear from one kid. It was all adults writing me like, this is awesome, and I learned so much from this book. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. So then I knew. I'm like, of course, adults love comics. They love comic books, and this has a lot of comics in it. So I'm like, I need to do a book for adults as well, and that reaches the topic of faith. And I decided to, just call it the other F word and put it out there to help people discover where they're at, where they've been at, and where to go with their faith, in hopes of combating some of the evil stuff out there. Because in all honesty, I have seen such an increase in the dark topics and the dark characters and creatures infesting the world. It's getting out of hand. So I tell people it's not just a possibility, it's a threat that you're going to experience something quite dark one day. So any way to look at, our faith, have a chuckle, have a laugh, get serious, and, take it easy again. And rest assured, have no doubts, and just kind of go with it. And so far, so good as far as the kids' book one is out at ficklefinders.com. And then the other fword.com, I have it there as well, and the adult version. I think and I hope that it's going to open up a lot of eyes out there. And let me tell you, I've got like 3 other books already complete along the lines of the Fickle Finder one. just for fun. I mean, I just want to reach people, just want to reach them in different ways. And hey, it seems to be working.
Well, would you consider yourself an altruistic person?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty versatile with a lot of topics, and
I'm giving you a chance to stroke your own ego here, so don't hold back.
Well,
don't hold back.
Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know.
But so I wanted to ask you, are you a person of faith yourself?
I am. I can't help but to. Okay, I'll be honest. 99.9% of my day, I'm thinking, what more can I do? What more can I do to help other people get from A to B to C to D, all the way down to Z, in any way, shape, or form? I mean, it's. I feel like I've gone through some stuff in regards to dealing with demonic stuff, negative things, even medical issues, and found a way to get over it and find that light at the end of the tunnel. And if I can in any way reach people and tell them, look, it's okay, you can do this, I mean, I'm going to do it. I mean, I find so much meaning behind, being that way. So yeah, I'm versatile.
Well, I guess, dealing with the topics that you do deal with, you would have to have that sort of attitude. I mean, otherwise you'd be in a very dark place, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So for some people who are not quite, if you're not quite familiar with Heidi, I have to say the first time I heard about Heidi actually was in reference to the Hat Man, and then the shadow people following that. So which of those two do you feel like was the one thing that really brought people's attention to you and the work that you do?
Oh gosh, it was the shadow people topic for sure, because even originally I'd call the Hat Man shadow. I had mistaken him for being a shadow person, and he is not. When I try to correct myself as soon as I could, but he is such a topic that is so dark and so has so much negativity associated with him. Even when I went to look into the topic, I mean, people close to me started feeling attacked and oppressed. I mean, it was crazy. So for a while, I really didn't touch the topic. But yeah, it was definitely shadow people that I first put out there. I wrote the book in '97, and it took me 2 months to write that book and 4 years to get it published, because there were promises of publishers, we'll take it, and then they did, and they fall through. And I finally put it out there myself, kind of a partnership with this publishing company, and people are like, oh, you're not gonna know what shadow people are. I mean, you just made that name up. And I'm like, I couldn't find anything out there on what I was dealing with personally. So I'd hoped if I could somehow depict what it was I was dealing with and how I made it through dealing with these dark things. I thought that the book might be helpful to other people. So I put it out there, and I mean, my email box has been overflowing ever since. It's been a crazy ride. Thousands and thousands of stories all over the globe. Just crazy. I honestly thought, I'm going to talk about this topic, I'm going to get on the radio, and people are going to go, huh? What the heck? And I just could not have been prepared for what happened with the response, honestly.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have some sensation on occasion, right? That someone is just out of the corner of their eye. Is that the sort of thing that is an indication that there is a shadow person nearby? How does one know?
Well, I think initially people do kind of get that strange feeling that something might be watching them first off, and may look around and perhaps catch a glimpse of something in their peripheral vision. And why that is because our peripheral vision is more sensitive to the differences between the light and dark. I mean, think about that I guess in a very how can I say, Neanderthal type of time when, perhaps a rock was being shot at your head and you weren't looking, but your peripheral caught that coming and you could duck. So it's kind of a defense system. So you're able to catch these things a lot easier from your peripheral vision. And they're quick. They can move out of the way. Once they notice that you notice them, they don't generally like that. They may run or they may attack you, unfortunately. So you may get rushed if you turn and you thought you saw something, you turn and you still see it. Oh, that's a problem. And they'll generally attack if you see them head on like that. If you just caught a tail end of them wisping by, you're luckier. So
I think that's what was so shocking. I think is that not many people have heard of this or ever heard of anything like this, and then all of a sudden people are reporting this. It indicates that they were not sharing this because they were probably ashamed to do so.
Right.
And it's shocking to think that they're being attacked by shadow people. What does a shadow want with you?
Yeah. When it comes to these low down, rotten, good for nothings, as I like to call them, their main reason, I guess, is to suck the fear out of people, suck the life force out of people, choke a person. It seems like such a petty thing. It's like, why would something try to get me when I'm not looking? Because they do like to come and sneak and blend in with the darkness and come at you in that way. And oftentimes people are like, I woke up because I thought I felt the presence, and all of a sudden they feel this pressure on their body and they're being choked, they're paralyzed, and sometimes they can see a dark mass on them. Sometimes they can see red glowing eyes on them. Other times they don't see anything through the darkness. But this is an interesting phenomenon. There's just a little bit of light in your room and you can kind of see shadows on the wall, but they could look to their side and see the shadow of a shape on top of them. I mean, how disturbing is that? And the sense is always outright dread. They're pretty sure they're going to die. Whatever this is trying to kill them, and whatever it is, it's quite negative. It's so disturbing to me that this is a tactic that they present mainly when a person has their guard down at nighttime. It's not their only time that they'll come at a person, but this is a prime time, and unfortunately, they're quite successful because, hello, you're really not prepared to fight for your very life and what they feel oftentimes for their soul. So I don't know. I tell people, that should tell you something. They cannot take you on when you're fully conscious. They cannot take you on as you are. They have to come like a thief in the night and try to tap you out that way. I'm like, so really, I when a lot of people tell me, oh gosh, I was paralyzed, I couldn't do anything, I don't know how to fight this thing. I'm like, well, if you really, really think about it, and you think about how they've had to come at you, essentially with your pants down, you'll find that you are not helpless. If you can look to your side and see that they're essentially whispering in your ear, you're paralyzed, that's when you get the upper hand. That's when you realize, hold on, I have the power here, and you have no doubts in your ability to be able to move and to be able to get these things away from you, get them off from you. Some people have a go-to tactic of, I'll just wiggle a finger, and if I could just focus on that finger to move, it'll break the spell. And I'm like, whatever tactic works for a person, awesome. For me, when I was dealing with them, I just said the name Jesus, and that's worked for me every time. And I've encouraged that to be a practice of others. Some people are not Christian. They have different go-tos, and ask God for help, because it's tough. But it's really tough when I have these people who are like, oh, well, I'm agnostic or I'm atheist. I I don't believe in that religious stuff. They just categorize it as one big lump. And I'm like, oh, okay. Did that thing feel evil? Oh, yeah, it was evil. Oh, okay. Well, you better hope that there's an opposite force out there that could kick its butt. Otherwise, you might as well throw a shoe at it. Yeah, throw a shoe. Get a shoe then. Don't call me. I can't help you. It's crazy.
Well,
absolutely
I guess
crazy.
if you're agnostic, it'd be easier. But if you're pure atheist, then what are you believing in that in the first place for? And because I guess you're seeking a materialistic explanation, or materialistic deterrent. I don't know. That's interesting. I definitely put myself in the category of agnostic / spiritual / part-time atheist. But
so I'm speaking to you, Alan. How are you doing?
You are all in one here. Yeah. So no, I would defer to a higher power for sure.
I hope you have a lot of shoes by the side of your bed to throw at anything. That's all I'm saying.
That's my higher power. It's my big shoe.
Oh, there you go.
No. I definitely am a spiritual person, so I think I would be okay with using some form of, invocation. But if you're an atheist, I don't know what you would do in that situation.
Oh gosh, I've run into a lot of brick walls with that one. Let me tell you, because wow, people, the things that they'll tell me, it's like, so I play a little Wicca stuff and dig into some chicken bones and cast spells. So what do I do with this thing again? I'm like, what did you just tell me? Like, oh my gosh, they don't believe in the good, but they sure do believe in the evil. Well, the evil came a-knocking, welcome them, put a doormat out for them saying, come on in, because you essentially did that. I mean, you've got to yank out the welcome mat out from underneath this evil stuff, because once it takes a good look at you, and if it likes what it sees, it's going to keep coming back, unfortunately. And, I have a question for you, Alan, because I hear this a lot, people that I don't know what happened to, people in their different faiths and different backgrounds that causes them to go, oh, I'm spiritual. They might have been raised Catholic, whatever,
Bingo.
Witness. And, it's like, so, and they just, for me, it was learning to practice to sit still. I didn't like church either. Sunday school was cool. I didn't mind it. But, I was told people who know and see things that are not usually there, well, they're of the devil, and I'm like, whoa, I don't feel evil. So I turned my back against my belief system as well, because I'd seen UFOs, I'd seen other odd things. And I'm like, well, this is more real than what they're talking about at the church. So poop on that, So I just kind of went the opposite direction. So I get it, but I had to come back full circle. I did, because I had things that were just, essentially threatening to kill me. And I had really, my first book, Secret War, I was such a skeptic of people who claim to see Jesus in their bowl of soup to a tree trunk. And I thought it was hogwash. I'm like, look, I've seen a lot of things myself too. And I never mistook it for Jesus. And I really thought people were seeing like hippos in the clouds. And I bashed the topic really, really quite badly in my first book. Like, these people are nuts, like, what are they thinking? And just before putting that book out, I had a Jesus encounter that just flipped my world all the way over to the other side of what just happened here. And really, I needed to, oh my gosh, I was a college student. Mm-hmm. I took great pride in picking on my friends who went to bed early on a Saturday night out the clubs to get up to church in the morning. I'm like, what? Who's doing that? My college roommate was Pentecostal, for crying out loud. Didn't cut her hair, big skirts. I'm like, not doing that either. And so this one day I came home from work. I worked at 5 a.m. till 12 noon, and then I'd go to a class. But I'd come home, take a nap, and then go to class. And so I came home. I told my roommate, turn her TV down, take a nap. I went to lay down on my bed, and I am not kidding you. I went to lay down on my bed, and it's as if I missed my bed and hit the floor. And it was so hard and abrupt. I just, boom, like, whoa, what the heck? How did I do that? I'm like, silly me, I missed my bed, and I'm on the ground and I'm kind of straightening myself up. I'm like, hold on, where am I? And I was in front of my parents' home. It's like, hey, how did I get here? You know, like I was in such like, just, I don't know. It's such a shocking thing. I'm like, I don't remember driving here. I don't know how I got here. I don't know why I'm here. I'm looking around trying to make sense. I'm like, I know I was going to meet up with a family friend over here. And maybe that's, why I'm here. And sure enough, I see this guy at the end of my parents' driveway. My parents live kind of out in the country. They have a long driveway. And I see this guy walking up the driveway. I'm like, oh, that looks like my family friend, Quincy. Yeah, that's what I came here for. I just don't know how I got here. This guy starts walking up the driveway, and I mean, it took only a few instances for me to go, oh my gosh, and just put my face in my hands, just going, this can't be happening. Is this happening? This is happening. I'm like, I am really here. I'm looking around. I'm looking at the walls of the front of my parents' home, and I'm like, this is really going on. And this man came up to me, and he said, hello. And I'm like, hello. And I still have my face in my hands. And he said, if you knew who I was, you would not hesitate to say it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to call my bluff and make me say it. I'm like, and I pulled my hands away from my face, and I was stuttering. I'm like, whoa, you're Jesus. Now, I don't speak Spanish. I don't know why I called him Jesus. And when I went to look at him, he said, yes, I am. And I mean, I just can't even describe to you the love tingles that shot off of him and hit me. And I'm looking at this man in a white robe. It was almost stereotypical. And I saw a bright light behind his head. His face was shadowed. And I'm like, what is, oh my gosh, this is really him. And I remember he started talking about his life and how so much needed to be done. And he's carrying on and on and on. And I am still silly me going, Heidi, this is happening. And I'm looking down, I'm like, I wanted to pinch myself. And I looked at the ground, and I'm like, whoa, why is the ground so close to me? And then I exclaimed in my head, like, I'm on my knees. I don't even remember going on my knees. And he got quiet. And I'm like, uh-oh. I felt like a kid being caught passing notes in class or something. I wasn't paying attention because I was just stunned. And I looked up at him, and I stuttered again. And I said, whoa, what do you want me to do? And he said, first you need to show us some things. I'm like, us? I'm like, oh my gosh, he's talking about his daddy. And he asked me to finish writing my book, The Secret War, which was already complete at the time. I just was editing it. But
That's
it was
interesting. Okay.
It was unbelievable. I mean, there's a lot more that happened to that, but
Your heart must have been pounding, though.
You have no idea. I mean, I tore him up in my book, and he's telling me to finish it. I had to rewrite parts of it because I bashed him so bad. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, that's the sort of experience that so many people, I think, especially who don't believe, want to have, and to say, okay, well, now I can believe, or even those of faith just want to have it because it would confirm their faith. But we're going to pick up back with Heidi Hollis, host of The Outlander on the Inception Radio Network and lauded author. And this is Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again. Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free. You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
And welcome back to Paranormal Now. This is Alan B. Smith, your host. My guest tonight is Heidi Hollis, the host of The Outlander on the Inception Radio Network, of which you are listening to this show on right now. And she's also the author of many a book, probably most famous for, I would guess, The Secret War, a true story about a real alien war and shadow people. And actually, we were just talking about her experience seeing, quote, Jesus, in a steely, bright white fashion that often is reported. And, you know, I'm coming from things from the perspective of an ex-Catholic.
A Reformed Catholic, as they say, or recovering. People say that.
Right. Well, I'm not recovering. I'm good. I'm retired. So.
Oh, retired Catholic. I met those two.
But yeah, so Bend Down Low as the song is in the break that we just came out of, our bumper music by Bob Marley, and listen to what Heidi Hollis has to say, because she is a wealth of knowledge on these very strange topics. And it's funny because we were just briefly speaking about this during the break, that Heidi has been very close to having a television show, and you don't see these topics really thoroughly covered in a way that you do aliens or extraterrestrials or ghosts or Bigfoot. And I think, man, there has to be such a huge market for that, you know. I hope that you do get your own show sometime or something happens, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think this is fascinating for people.
Oh, it is. I mean, you know, it's an odd world. showbiz, I guess they say, they find a format that works, that people are used to, like, quote, ghost hunters, that format, running through, screaming like little girls, things are, like that.
Shaky camera, right?
Yeah, shaky camera, things are shadowed, and that kind of thing. So that's what it seems to be the usual. Like, they think that's all people want to see, and unfortunately, so putting a different angle of something out there seems to be a lot harder. When it comes to the paranormal, unfortunately. So it's just it's just a matter of getting people to open up new avenues in their minds to, taking the paranormal in an actual fashion that people deal with it on a day-to-day basis. We don't all go crawling through abandoned buildings. It's interesting, but no.
Yeah, well, I think that also people just get stuck on, well, this format seems to be working, and we're afraid to hear from that. And then you just get stuck in these same old patterns of
exactly
television storytelling. But so, who are the shadow people? Do you have any idea what they are, who they are, where they came from?
Well, they work for our government. I'm just kidding. Shadow government.
All right, and that's the show, everybody. Thank you.
Well, there's a complicated history to these beings. I personally did not know what it was I was experiencing. I guess to back it up a little bit with the topic, I first saw one following a friend of mine. I did not know what I was seeing. It was broad daylight. We're walking along a path, and I saw something jump from a bush to a tree. I'm like, huh? What was that? And my friend's walking alongside of me, and I'm like, this is weird, And then I saw it, a couple more times ducking and diving, and we reached our destination, turn around, come walking back, and it did it all the way back. And by that time, I was just beside myself, and I go to my friend. I said, look, I don't know what it is I saw, but I saw this, and I drew what I call the head and shoulder shadow. Essentially, it's a big hulking thing that looks like it's on steroids, and its head is directly connected to its shoulders, and it's like got rounded shoulders and no discernible legs, really. I drew this out, and my friend looks at it, and I'm thinking she's going to just laugh at me. And she looks at it and goes, oh, that thing. Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's been following me for years. And then she goes, hey, Dad, look, he's back. And he goes, really? Gosh, I don't know what we're going to do about that thing. I'm like, and I'm going, huh? This is crazy.
Wait, how is someone so complacent about that? Like,
since she was a kid, it had been following and terrorizing her just all the time. And I don't know. It was like a thing. It was like, oh, all right.
Did the terror wear off? And she's just like, well, go ahead, try to scare me, but I'm over it at this point.
I don't think so. I think that because her dad would come running when she'd scream at night, and he'd see it run away. I mean, that's crazy.
Huh,
that's just crazy. Yeah. So he actually witnessed it. But I'm like, I was floored by the thing I saw. I was even more floored by her reaction and her dad's. And I was staying at their place, and I had to go upstairs to go grab something. And it was still broad daylight outside, and it was like an attic second floor. And I had to go through this solid black room before I could get to the room I was staying at that had natural lighting coming in. So I go in there, I grab what I needed out of the room, I turn around, and the darn thing was standing there blocking my way out of the room, just hulking over me. Like, I knew it wanted to kill me. And I just remember looking up. I mean, this thing, I don't know, 8 feet tall? He's huge. I don't know, 10 feet tall. He's huge. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I knew if I swung at this thing, it was going to get me. I knew if I ran from this thing, it was going to get me. So I just did the best thing I could do and quietly said a prayer as I kind of closed my eyes and walked straight through it, slowly and methodically. And then I had to go through that big solid black room to get to the top of the stairs, and it was just horrifying. But so that was my first encounter with these things, and I really had thought that that was the one time that I would ever experience this freaky thing. And I didn't realize till a few years later that I was experiencing them ever since that time. I just didn't associate the night terrors I started having of these shadow spiders, which were just a constant reminder of what hell is like on Earth. I hate spiders. I just hate them. And
really? Oh, that's so...
Just
I
gross.
think they're fascinating, honestly. Yeah.
Oh, are you one of those people that watch YouTube videos of spiders fighting? Because my nephew does that.
Oh, no, not that fascinating.
Okay.
No, but I've always, growing up where we grew up in the Northeast, I mean, spiders are always considered friendly because they killed all the flies because we get so many flies. So I did always see them as a friend rather than a foe.
That's Spider-Man. You got it wrong. That's Spider-Man. I like the cartoon as well. Yeah, sorry. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That's it. It's as close to spider liking as I liked. That's it.
Right. But I don't know how it would deal if I saw a giant tarantula in the Amazon or any of those other giant spiders. I think I might freak out about that. But living in the Northeast as I do, I'm comfortable with spiders.
Oh, that's gross. In Australia, where I lived at one point, they have spiders that can jump and catch a bird. Yeah, go for that one.
Yeah, that's no. I don't know if I could dig on that.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Kind of look like those little alien things from the alien movies, so it just attach to your face. But so anyways, so shadow spiders. I started sleepwalking, running in terror. I guess sleep running. From giant spiders that were the size of me. Just crazy. And usually, my college roommate would find me running around looking for a shoe to kill it. Talk about shoes. I did. I was like, I just felt if I killed it once really good, it wouldn't come back. So, I mean, I'd be in my closet digging and, just craziness. And so I honestly didn't associate it with what I had seen before, but I found now that that's another form that they take. Flash forward a year or two, a couple of years maybe, I had witnessed a major UFO in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I was raised, and just 3 football fields in length, and the whole body of the ship glowed an orangish red, just unbelievable, and saw a couple other odd lights. So I joined a UFO group. These people, though, were alien abductees. They weren't just somebody who had seen UFOs as I had. I want to say I was with them for a few months, and I had a black helicopter show up over my place. Unmarked black helicopter, looked like it was going to land on the house. Craziness. And maybe a couple months after that, I woke up. My dad had told me a young lady should not have an apartment on the first floor of an apartment, but I did, and he thought, somebody might break in. Well, I woke up to the sounds of someone. It sounded like they had broken in to my apartment. I got up, freaked out, like, oh no, Dad was right. And I'm like, my phone's not near me. I'm like, my door is wide open to where the noise is coming from, and my bedroom window. That it had bars on it, like protection. I'm like, sure. Now I can't get out the window either. So I knew once I put my feet down, whoever's in my apartment is going to see me, and I'm going to have to bolt. So I was just counted to 3, put my feet down, and I just bolted for the door. And I tell you, I wasn't prepared for what it was I saw. I saw what looked like the size of 2 4-year-olds standing in my living room. And so I'm running, for my life, and I'm like, hold on, what the heck? You don't have the fear of 4-year-olds in you. And I sure didn't. And I walked up to these 2 little guys going through my bookshelf like maniacs. And I stood between the 2 of them, and I'm like, hey, who are you guys? What are you doing here? And they just turned and looked at me and froze. These things, I knew, I was familiar with what they were because here I joined this group, and they were a gray type of alien, big black eyes, and they had 2 slits for nostrils and a slit for a mouth, but their mouth formed an O, like, oh crap, she's up. Really, they did that. And I'm like, you know,
So
and
there was a clear facial expression there.
there was. And trying to get to the shadow people portion, because it's all connected. It's so bizarre. So these guys, there's two in my living room. I hear noise behind me. There's two in my walk-in closet, noise in my kitchen, two in there, two were in my bathroom. I had been invaded, and I was interrogating all of them, running around like, just, you know, I thought I was about to die. And then there's 4-year-old looking alien creatures roaming in my apartment. And I'm going around saying, who are you and what are you doing here? That's all I could think of. And I'm like, what are you doing here? You know, like, get out. They're going through my stuff like it was a police raid or something. Like, this is crazy. But so I want to say it was like practically the next day. I had met my old foe, that creature I saw following my friend, the Head and Shoulders shadow. And I'm like, what on earth? I just got rid of these little stinkers that were in my apartment, and only to be met with this menace. And I mean, it felt nosy at first, and I couldn't understand what it was doing there, why it was there. And then it seemed more in my periphery, but I got the shape. And then it started coming more head on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is that thing. And I at the time I lived alone, and I got I moved into a bigger apartment literally across the hall in the same building, and got a college roommate. And the activity just stepped up. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on. My roommate was Pentecostal. She's like, these are demons, and everything was demons, and, you know, to her. And I'm like, I don't know what to think of this. She experienced things on levels that blew my mind. She was more sensitive than I was to these things. And
so did she see some of these things with you?
She sure did. She was an extraordinary artist as well, and she actually drew a lot of the images that you see on my site, and just crazy. And she is the one who experienced the Hat Man, not me. I ran to her aid because she was screaming in utter terror, like one of those movie screams that people do when they're being slaughtered. That's what I heard. And I came running from my room to her room, thinking someone had broken in and was attacking her. And she was literally balled up in a corner on the floor, shaking like you just couldn't imagine. And it just pointing at, saying, all she could say was the man. And I'm like, she had a room that had a door that exited straight out of the building onto the porch. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, oh my God, somebody came in the door. And I'm like, where'd it go? And she just couldn't breathe to talk. And she's like, no, he left when you came. And I'm like, huh? You know, I'm like looking at the windows, they're closed. I'm like, I couldn't understand. And she drew what she'd seen. And I had assumed it was as kind of ghostly, wispy, like these black shadow things. And that was just a gut-wrenching thing. But I later learned he was quite solid. He wears an outfit. He wears a 3-piece suit, trench coat, gaucho type hat,
quite solid.
A chain, chain watch.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but I learned pretty early on that these alien beings were associated somehow with these shadow beings. I mean, I had just gotten rid of these. I had never seen aliens before. I wasn't paralyzed or anything. I got up, I reacted, I thought somebody was breaking in, and then poof, the next day I got these demon things coming in. I'm like, well, what did they do? Call their boss in? I didn't know. I mean, it was just bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, this is not a dream, right?
No. Yeah. I mean,
it's just so astounding.
I laugh and I joke about this stuff because it's some heavy stuff, and I think people, on some level, some people really do lose it. They do lose their minds in regards to these topics because it's heavy and it's dark. I get it. And it's like, I might take it more casually than others, but trust me, I have suffered. I have gone through some crap. I couldn't sleep with the lights off. I was having some serious difficulty, and I was studying to become an occupational therapist. Not an easy thing to study, mind you. I felt I was being prepared to become a doctor, and I couldn't sleep at night because demons were coming at me. I mean, it was so frustrating. I had friends that would come over and stay the night just to watch the fireworks of shadowy things showing up. And now get this, I couldn't categorize this either at the time. Spheres of light coming from outside, zipping into the apartment and attacking the shadow thing. I'm like, okay, I don't even know what to do.
Spheres of light? Where were they coming from?
Spheres of light, like balls of light. They would come from outdoors. They would come from the window. And one time, this one gives me chills. I woke up because whenever something wasn't right in my apartment, I would just wake up. I was never paralyzed I can't move. I would wake up and I'm like, something evil was in my bedroom. And I woke up to jump and defend myself. And I don't even know how to describe, but there were like strings. Like I was in a pastel color of webbing surrounded me of glowing webbing light that were like light blues, pinks, and yellows. And I'm like, wow, and I could see through them and see the shadow thing standing there, angry and frustrated that it couldn't get at me. And I heard my roommate screaming. They were attacking her while I got protected somehow for some reason. Just wild stuff. It's like, how do you categorize that? And I'm trying to go to school, and I'm like, I was at a loss. She was at a loss. And I wasn't a church girl. I wasn't a Jesus Bible thumper or any of those things. She prayed her brains out. But she still got attacked. I didn't know what to think of that. I'm like, I'm being protected, and the Pentecostal girl's getting attacked.
Well, it seems odd that if you're having this encounter with these gray aliens, you chase them away, and then in their place comes this shadow person. It almost seems like by displacing them, you open the door to allow him to come in there. But is that what you think is the case, or not so much?
It was at the time. I didn't even know what to. I just really didn't know. I was so at a loss and so frustrated and felt so violated by these things coming around as they were so boldly, and I felt they wanted to kill me every time. Every time I knew these things were trying to kill me, and it's something else to have that be projected your way of utter death. So it was difficult.
It's crazy. Are you familiar with Ray Hernandez of Free?
Oh yeah, I had him on my show before actually, and I'm part of the Free organization.
Oh, are you really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're fun.
Okay,
they're nice.
I know. Well, the last episode was with Ray, and he's convinced that these non-human intelligences / and/or grays, and he's saying not specifically grays, a whole wide variety of species, but these non-human intelligences are benevolent.
Yeah.
Now,
there's a lot of them.
What about you?
I think that there's some, I don't want to knock anybody for what they feel to be true for themselves, because their experiences may be, what they are. But
Sure. Yeah.
For me, it's like, I know what I've gone through. I know what I've dealt with. And I know that these beings are very much like humans. There's some rotten, low-down ones, and there's some decent ones out there. So to categorize them as being angelic and all being good and awesome, I don't go into that for myself, because I don't feel that's I don't feel that's the reality of things. And this is interesting. When I was part of these, it's not my experience, and it's not the experience of all those that I sat alongside of for years dealing with alien abductions and being raped, violated, beaten, experimented on, healed up, only to be experimented on again, have their baby fetus stolen from their uterus, and have a doctor tell them, your uterus digested your baby. I mean, I've seen it all. And to see these people suffer the way that they did. Now, this was interesting. I watched the wave come through of, people being angry and sitting there. I had a UFO group myself for over 15 years, and these people would complain and cry and be so angry. And then they started changing. The aliens started telling them, you're special. You're chosen. We're doing this for your own good. Just like when you were a kid and pushed off to school, you didn't want to go, but your parents knew it was good for you. And these people started changing and loving these beings that were abusing them. And I'm like, hold on, but they raped you. Yes, but I needed that. What? Come on now. That's not good. If I had a friend that kept coming over and they kept hitting me in the head, I wouldn't want that friend over anymore. I wouldn't think, it doesn't hurt anymore. No, I couldn't understand what I was seeing, what I was witnessing. And so Stockholm Syndrome came to mind. I didn't know how to categorize it, but these beings started changing in some of the things they were doing. As far as after the abuse, they'd have them sit down and learn their language. Have them help them abduct other humans, calm the humans down, and say, it's okay. Look, I'm here. I'm like, wow, so you're assisting in other people's abductions and abuse? It's changed. It changed out there. And I never felt that it was a positive situation. I don't know how or why people changed. And all at once, it seemed like they were all moving in that direction. And a lot of people still sit in that category. However, there's a lot that are like, heck no, I'm not being fooled. Those guys are rotten.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, yeah. He and I were discussing, and my concern was whether you think the experience is positive or not. Is it like the experience of a sea tortoise who is rescued because it's injured, it doesn't understand what's happening, but these crazy humans just kind of reach down, grab it, pick it up, give it shots, it passes out, it's in incubation for weeks, and they finally release it back out to sea, and the tortoise is like, what the hell just happened? And it was a good thing, but it was in shock. It was extraordinarily stressed. But it was probably numbed though for the surgical procedure it needed. Yeah, well, sure, and but I'm thinking, well, humans, and no offenses to tortoises, but humans are a different sort of intellect, and so you can communicate with us. I feel like even if you're at a higher level of intelligence, we're humans, and we can converse. We're self-aware, so I don't think it's right to just step into my mind and control it, or to, even if it's supposedly a beneficial action. I don't know. I just have a hard time with that. How do you feel?
As far as what element? What do you?
Well, of just like not having control, like having something come into your life and just go, well, I'm taking over now. So much for your own will.
Abduction in any sense of the word is never good. The word abduction, against your will, forcefully, that is not good. It is just not good. I don't see how that act alone would be seen as positive. I don't understand how that can be interpreted in that form. Even just starting from point A.
Well, isn't it the case with, an abusive relationship anyway? Like, I could come in, not me. Let's take me out of this equation. Someone can do something to another person, and physically harm them, and then tell that child, well, I love you, and I care about you, and I know you don't understand it now, but I do, and this is the best thing for you. It doesn't make what they did any better.
It doesn't, and especially when they repeat it, and then they get their friends in on it, and it's organized for years and years and years, and it goes generation to generation, and everybody joins in the abuse of that person. It's horrible. It's really twisted stuff.
But then you do have the occasion where people have an experience and they sense a positive energy coming from beings, and they tell them all these beautiful things about their future and metaphysics.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the element I think that gets people. I think people start to feel helpless, and then they focus in on the good thing. Like if they had a rotten childhood, and they'll focus on the one time mom took them to the park. It's like,
yes,
does it really cover it all up? I mean, what's happened to you for years, and how they've yanked your kid out of your arms and abused them, and I'm blown away with it, and things are changing out there. They're really changing, because I watch my emails go from aliens to shadow people to the Hat Man, and the terror and the alien abductions. I'll tell you, there's a big discussion that I could have with you. I don't know when our break is coming up, but I had a guest on who was in charge of alien abduction reports, and I asked outright. I said, They're not happening, are they? And it's nope, they sure aren't. They're changing to be
Heidi,
demonic.
Hold it right there. We'll pick up with that comment when we come back from this quick break. This is Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now on the Inception Radio Network. My guest is Heidi Hollis, and we are speaking dark things, but we will get light in time.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free. You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Welcome back to Paranormal Now. This is Alan B. Smith, your host. My guest is Heidi Hollis, and taking us out of the break was On Fire by the Ka'au Crater Boys from Hawaii. And on the lead ukulele was Ray Fernandez. If you have not heard of him before, go to YouTube and check this guy out. He's phenomenal. I love these guys. All right, so we were speaking of many a dark thing, and I don't say that lightly, because actually people do have these horrific experiences that are indeed traumatic. And I think personally one of the issues that I have, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way, Heidi, is that, to boo-hoo people having these odd paranormal experiences is one thing. But when you realize that these people are, one, sincere and they've been through a traumatic experience, then you are ignoring them to their detriment, to
Yes.
their pain. They need, sometimes people really need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you don't want to be ostracized, and so you keep it all inside. And I feel like people are victimized simply by being ignored or made fun of.
Oh gosh, yes. I get a lot of emails from people saying, I have told no one. I don't have anyone to talk to. I don't want to be, you know, like you said, ridiculed or whatnot. And I feel terrible that these folks are sitting there surrounded by people who, quote, love them, and yet they don't open up the doors for them to vent about such a thing. I mean, it's very isolating. It's kind of abusive in a sense, because these people get severely depressed. Some get suicidal. Some are horrified. They get insomnia. They get depression. I mean, it's horrific what goes on out there. And I get these emails that bring tears to my eyes. Honestly, I got a call. I'm not kidding you. 2 nights ago, from Facebook out of nowhere. I'm like, who's trying to call me on Facebook? And a gentleman from Scotland. He's like, my girlfriend just woke me up. She was attacked. I'm like, oh my gosh. You know, it is constantly going on. And it's sad that people have to turn to someone on the other side of the planet to try to help address these issues. And I welcome people to reach out. I mean, that's what I'm here for. Honestly, I feel like this is one of the things that I came to this planet for, is to help people figure this stuff out and to conquer it. You don't have to remain a victim of this stuff.
Well, why is it, do you think, that people can be religious, but then you share a story like this of shadow people, and somehow you're crazy? I mean, isn't religion paranormal?
It is. It's all supernatural. I mean, Jesus walking on water. Come on now. I mean, what are we talking about here? A healing, birds falling from the sky to feed everybody. I mean, it's. I think that.
I mean, the Bible has mythical beasts. Even. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I don't understand. I just don't understand, if you claim to be a religious person, how you can.
Yeah. For some reason, people feel that, well, the Bible's written, God's done talking. I'm like, oh, this is a living, breathing God. Why would he, you know, suddenly turn away and stop talking to people, or helping to influence good situations or inspire people, you know, just because a book is written? You know, yes, it's an important book, of course. But my goodness, we have to be open to God's suggestions and taken seriously when he has said something. People are so worried that a misinterpretation is going to happen, that oh, did you test the spirit? Was it really God? It's like, hold on, you're reading a book that's over 2,000 years old. Were you sitting there when they wrote this down? You know, did you test it? No, you took the word of somebody else, that they read it, they interpreted something properly, and they put it in a book. I think that a lot gets missed out there because people are so afraid to open up their minds to other possibilities because of a rule that was placed on God that there are no rules to be placed on. So I find it kind of hilarious and sad at the same time, because I feel if people could really, really ultimately believe one supernatural story, just one, like really, really get it, it would change their world. It would change their life, just as it's changed the lives of the people who experienced something supernatural and knew it happened. So much could happen in this world, and I find it very painful to witness the closing off of what I feel is the full human potential. I really do.
Yeah, well, I remember when I had my UFO sighting, I was around 12 years old. And so 12 is just old enough that you're beginning to leave childhood. And I remember distinctly after that telling myself, do not forget this. People are going to assume that you were a child and that this experience wasn't real. And it wasn't, there was another witness with me. But I knew then, you know, that I would be ostracized wow. yeah, I just thought, okay, I can't forget this. I can't let my adult self look back on this and say, oh, you were just being silly. You were a child. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, on through the next couple of decades. I kept it at the front of my memory because I did not ever want to. I feel like I would have betrayed not only myself, but other people who have had similar experiences if I just became one of those people who just thought, oh, I was probably just a kid. And I think everyone at any age, when you have a paranormal experience, you feel like that. You want some validation, and you don't want to forget it, even if it was a bad experience, because it was your experience. And that there are people out there that want to take that away from you and either demean it, undermine it, or usurp it. And anyway, so I feel very strongly about that. Now, granted, it doesn't change the fact that I'm sure people have hallucinations. Right? We know that that's a real thing. I guess the hard thing is to figure out, how do you know, did I hallucinate something? Did I hallucinate something that looks like a shadow man, or was that really a shadow man?
Well, I find it pretty funny that people question their eyes, like, oh, my eyes are playing tricks on me. I'm like, are those the same eyes that drive you back and forth to work?
Right. Right. I should say that when I see a green light or a red light.
Yeah.
That's probably a red light. I'm just gonna.
Yeah. It's just so funny. I'm like, wow, why did we question our own freaking eyeballs all of a sudden? Because it was too weird. Good point. I find it kind of it's comical, but I get it. I get it. Trying to explain it away and try to make do with your life, and I get that. Oh, I hear firecrackers. But it's I don't know. I get it, and I think if people started treating these topics like they would any other topic, with a sense of humor, a joke, humanly flawed as possible, instead of putting a flashlight under their chin and trying to speak very spookily about it and clear the room. I could clear a room like nobody else. But if I want people to really understand, and if I want them to ask curious questions and to learn, I speak as myself. I do crack jokes. I do have a good time talking about this stuff. I don't try to freak them out. I want to be approachable. I want them to learn, and I want them to get this because, again, I feel that the paranormal is not something that's a possibility. It's a threat that it's going to happen at some point in a person's life, especially the dark stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, actually, our cat was just walking by, and I was wondering, have you had experiences with cats or animals that also have a sense of these beings?
I had a dog named Alien who was absolutely unaware. I don't know what was wrong with him. He was a very spiritual little stinker, but he was just, his sister Starship wasn't any help either, or Earthling. So anyways, but
with names like that, come on.
They're brother and sisters, and I'm like, next one's going to be named Human. But I did have a cat.
Normalize it a little bit.
Just a little. I had a cat named Pyramid, and this is interesting. Okay, this was not the cat being aware of something. This is just so twisted. So one day, my cat is a solid black cat, very quiet, but he had a little white pyramid patch on his chest. That's all you could see on him. That was white. I came home, and he was meowing like crazy. This is a super duper quiet cat. I'm like, oh no. I figured when the shadow people attacked him, like, this is not good. I'm like, Pyramid, are you okay? And he's underneath my futon in the living room. So I got on all fours, and he's just meow, meow, meow. And I'm like, oh no, I'm reaching towards him, and I could see his white teeth lighting up in the darkness as I'm reaching for him. And this is crazy. I felt something brush up behind me, and I'm like, I turn my head. I'm on all fours. I got my hand reached out, and I'm saying, Pyramid, come on. And I feel something brush up behind me. I turn my head, and it's my quiet black cat saying, yes, you called. I'm like, what the heck am I trying to reach for? It's like in the part in the movie when you don't know it's the monster and then you realize your hand is next to the monster. I turned my attention back to this thing and it said, meow. Oh, I'm like, oh my God. I was almost paralyzed. I couldn't even speak. I was just numb with terror. I grabbed my quiet kitty and I just was panting and backed my way out of the apartment and closed the door and just, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to think. It was horrifying.
I mean, do you think that once you have opened that door, and you've had these experiences, do you think that, I don't know if susceptible is the right word, but do you have more of them once you have that first one? Because that just seems like someone just stepped in to mess with you. That's terrible.
It is, but it goes to show how these shadow beings can mock things, appear as other things. I did not even know how to categorize that one. But I think that there is a sort of contagion even with these types of phenomena. I have had, like I said, I had a UFO paranormal discussion group for over 15 years, and people would just come because they were curious and like, oh, this is neat. And the next month they'd show up, and they're like, I saw something. And I'm like, whoa, how'd that happen? It's like one lady, she saw a UFO land on the side of the freeway. I'm like, what? She'd been wanting to see something all her life, and she comes into the meeting. I'm like, was there something in the Kool-Aid? What, so it seems like when you're open to understanding and realizing other realities come and take a look at you for looking at them. It's the best that I can figure, but I think some of us are a little bit more in tune as well. My entire family is pretty much in tune. I grew up in a haunted house. We all experienced something, and didn't make sense, and it's never quite stopped. It didn't matter where I lived. Odd things would happen. I just started being able to see more clearly, I think, as I got older. And but there came a point where I didn't want to see anymore, and I put my foot down about it, and it actually worked, where things slowed down for me. Because it's really something to live your life. I mean, I saw a headless woman, Alan. I was done. I saw a headless woman, and I was so through.
What was the context of this? How did that?
Oh gosh, I lived in this house that my friend owned, and I just finished up with college, and I'm in my room, and I wake up, something weird is in the room, and I wake up in this place. I don't know if it was haunted, if it was me. My friend was remodeling, so she probably woke up some things. I don't know. And this night I was really tired, and I felt something was in the room, and I roll over, and here is this lady's wearing like a white dress that's pulled in at the center. She was a little chunky, short, and she was so solid with no head. I'm like, come on. I was so mad. I'm like, I can't do this every night. And she was so solid, and I'm like, go away. And I didn't even, usually I'll get up and turn a light on, and just kind of do a dance of, heebie-jeebies or something. I reached at her, and I was making the sign of the cross. I'm like, in Jesus' name, go. And she wouldn't go. It took a few good attempts, and I'm almost touching her. She was very solid. And she slowly faded away, and I'm like, I could finally go back to sleep. I don't know how much time I slept, and I felt something was in the room again. I rolled back over, and it was just her head where it should have been the first time. I'm like, really? Really? Oh my gosh. I pulled the covers over my head, and I just went back to sleep. And the next morning, I was so tired. I was like, you know what? I stomped around the whole place. I'm like, I don't care why you died. I don't want to know. I'm not going to help you. I don't want to see you. I don't want to deal with this anymore. And I meant it with every ounce of me. I'm like, I'm off limits. And you know what? Things got quiet for me. And I did not see as the same level ever again as I once did. I still see things at times, but it's not like every freaking place and every night. I mean, it was disturbing. And I don't consider myself psychic or anything. I felt like I was unlucky. Things just reared their ugly heads my way. And but the odd thing is, it wasn't all ugly too. I mean, I'd seen like angelic like beings. I had Jesus encounters. I'd experienced a lot of cool things as well. And when I put my foot down about the negative stuff, the positive stuff also slowed down and faded to an extent. So didn't all go away, but I'm like, wow, if you close off that portal to yourself, everything could come your way, and everything cannot come your way if you close it off, you know? So it was a wild experience, but you know,
I guess it seems to me that some people, you know, they have this supernatural experience, and it just opens their perception, their doors of perception, as it were, a little bit wider, and it allows more things to be experienced and seen. If you're just listening now, tuning into the Inception Radio Network live feed from which this podcast is broadcasting on, we are listening to Heidi Hollis. She is the host of The Outlander on the Inception Radio Network, a fantastic show, so please tune into her whenever you get a chance. And she's also the author of many a book. Her new book, which is not quite out yet, is The Other F Word, and she's going to take a leap of faith and discuss matters that she's not yet thoroughly written about. Have you blogged about this before? Have you sort of worked your way up into making a book, or is this just like a whole new adventure for you?
You know, my second book was called Jesus is No Joke. That's when I had those encounters with Jesus when I was finishing up the Secret War book, and I seen him more than once, and it was so just eye-opening, and so it's nothing I could have ever anticipated. And I tell people I feel like I cheated in my faith because I sure didn't earn it. He showed up and almost smacked me upside the head and said, "Hey, stop writing badly about me." But so I think, honestly, I feel it's my most highly achieved book, the Jesus is No Joke book. It sat #1 for 8 months on Amazon in its category. But people don't know me for that book. They're all about, ooh, scare us, Heidi, with some demon talk. But I always add, ever since I had my Jesus encounters, I always add some religious aspects to my books. I mean, I should say spiritual aspects, not religious. But it really helped me to be able to even speak about any of this stuff, because I was just a victim of this stuff. I had things coming at me left and right. I didn't know what was going on. And it took for me to have the Jesus encounter, the initial one, to go, oh, you know, I guess this is how I can fight fire with fire. If I didn't have that, I really feel those things were aiming to kill me, aiming to kill my roommate. I mean, it was awful. It was threatening. It was dark. And it meant its threats, you know. But it got to be really fulfilling and uplifting for myself to find out I was wrong about the Jesus stuff. You know, he didn't come to me and say, "Heidi, go to church." I still don't go to church. I believe my faith religiously, if that helps. But you know, I believe in the Bible. I believe in the things that Jesus said and did. And I mean, who am I to doubt and question? I had my whole world flipped upside down, and I won't take it back for nothing. I love it. I'm glad. And some people feel like, well, isn't that confusing? You know, you believe in aliens, you believe in this, and now Jesus pops in. I'm like, I have perfect clarity. I am perfectly fine in understanding everything and how it all goes together. And I believe I was one of the first researchers out there and authors to talk about this. And when it comes to these so-called aliens, the negative ones, to use the name of Jesus for it to go away. And it works. Why? Why does that work? I didn't understand that. It's like, why would that work? Why does it work with shadowed beings? Why does it work with the Hat Man? It's just amazing to me.
I mean, if I could take a more interpretive approach to that, I guess you could say that whatever your invocation is of something that is godlike and positive, it's the intention and the spiritual connection to that light world of light that is what's actually creating the effect of
nice try,
no?
agnostic.
Nice try. I thought I'd give it a go. But
I've heard that.
But what
argument
what
before.
if? But like you said before, if we're of a different religion, then I'm not going to use Jesus, right? I'm going to use someone else, and that can work.
A shoe, holy shoe. Throw the shoe. I'm telling you.
But aside from the shoe, which may or may not be effective, what if I'm Jewish? What do I do then?
Oh, I've run into that. I mean, I've had Muslim friends even, and I tell people, what your idea of the source of God being is what you focus on. I know Jesus to work for me, and even in the Muslim faith, they believe that he is the one to take on the devil at some point. So I don't know. I mean, I have my biasness, of course, but I'll tell people to focus on their symbol of God. Jesus. I cannot even tell you how many times I've been in these types of crazy situations with something so hideous coming my way, and for that name alone to work. But now I'll tell you the flip side of this. I've had many of people write me, I did that, I tried that, and it didn't work, and I blessed my house, and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm like, there's this film out, and I can't recall it. Was it Creep Show or something? And this guy was hunting vampires, and he pulled up a crucifix, and he put it in front of the vampire, and the vampire laughed and grabbed it, and he said, you got to have faith for that to work. So it's not just blindly saying, things out of habit. It has to have some meaning behind it, and that's why I feel the F Word book is really going to be something in the face of this stuff, because I get it. I cheated to get my faith. How am I going to expect somebody to pull that out of their back pocket when I was bashing Jesus in my book?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was thinking back earlier when you were saying your friend, her father would run to her rescue, as it were, because of the haunting of. That was a tall man or shadow man?
It was a shadow being.
Shadow person, yeah. And in that moment, him as a person is being truly altruistic, and the ego is non-existent in that moment.
Right.
And I wonder if just that action of pure love, out of protection for his child, is what chased. Not physically running into the room, but that intention of love is what chased the spirit away.
Keep trying, agnostic. Keep trying. I'm just kidding.
Right. But that's kind of what you were saying, though, right? You're saying.
Well, to have that faith, that is a sense of faith. I don't know if I was running to my friend's defense. She's screaming in bloody horror of something coming at her. I don't know, but it startled the thing to leave. I don't know why. I don't think that these things have as much strength as we may think they do. The human potential is so much more powerful. If they could take us over, they would have by now, but they can't. They have to convince us to allow them in, convince us to kill ourselves. I mean, these are things that these beings are doing. And I'll give an example of that. I don't know if we got a minute now.
No, you're good, yeah.
Okay, so I'm a therapist. I had a student that I had to supervise at one point, and every once in a while, people's like, "Oh, that's a girl that writes those dark books, on Seattle people," and she's like, "What do you write about?" And I told her, and she turned ghost white, and she's like, "You know what? I was 3 years old, and I saw a fork on the floor, and I saw an outlet, and I looked at the fork, and I looked at the outlet, and I knew my mom told me not to stick anything in those outlets." She said, and all of a sudden, this man that was taller than the ceiling, he had to crouch over on the ceiling, bent all the way down to within inches of her face, and said, "Go ahead, stick it in." I mean, for a demon thing to encourage a 3-year-old to kill herself, what are we dealing with here? This is just one of the thousands of stories I get. It's mind-blowing. It's disgusting. And these things go after children, especially the Hat Man. And I've had people that were toddlers being attacked and threatened, and for people to remember that they were a toddler is really weird, but they remember the demon, the Hat Man threatening their souls, their lives, and knew if they screamed he would kill them. I've had somebody, it was a kid of 7 years old, be hung by the Hat Man. Hung! I mean, just horrible things. So these things are not as powerful as we believe. I believe that they encourage us to harm ourselves versus them actually physically being able to do it, because they would have by now. So don't doubt the human potential. Don't doubt what faith can do as well. I was nobody that had worse faith than I did. I believed God existed, but I thought Jesus was a historical figure who did his dance and left, but he did a lot of cool things, but I surely wouldn't have guessed that he would come my way. I surely didn't feel worthy. I would have never expected it. And my friends who are religious, they knew something had happened to me, because all I could say is Jesus is no joke. And that's why I titled the book that, because that's all I kept saying.
Yeah, that's a good title. And I'm going to hold on to my romantic belief that my atheist friends are going to be okay. So anyway, we're going to be right back after this brief break. We are speaking with Heidi Hollis, the host of Outlander, and on the Inception Radio Network. And so hang in there. We'll be right back.
Forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter. I_R_.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again. Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
And welcome back to Paranormal Now. I'm Alan B. Smith, your host. My guest is Heidi Hollis, and taking us out of the break was All Night Long by Lionel Richie, because I am going through an 80s phase that just does not seem to end, and I don't know why. And the love of my life, she's probably laughing right now as I speak, because I'm killing her with the 80s music. Anyway, so if you're into the Paranormal Now radio program, then you can follow us on Facebook. That's Paranormal Now Radio on Facebook, and on Instagram, of course, at Paranormal Now. And if you're on Instagram, just do hashtag MayaCatNYC, and you can see all the cute pictures of our cat, because us cat people are obsessed with our cats, and that's what we do. So my guest, Heidi Hollis, is very well known in the paranormal community, so my assumption would be most of you probably have heard of her. But if some of you have not, I'm sure that you're thoroughly enjoying tonight's program, because Heidi has not only researched the shadow people and the Hat Man, and had her own spiritual experiences, she's dealt directly with some of these beings, which gives her an advantage over many other researchers who are just, flipping through pages and, interviewing other people. But with that said, Heidi, are there any stories that you can think of off the top of your head that started as a horrific experience and ended as a lighter experience?
Oh, and any paranormal thing? Let me think. Wow. That started off horrific and ended up nice.
Yeah. I know that you do get a lot of letters and messages from people. So I'm wondering if anyone has shared an experience where, things ended okay. They're okay.
Well, they're okay. I mean, I don't know if they feel like they are spiritually okay. I think a lot of them feel like they're spiritually screwed, sadly. And I'm like, no, you're not. I mean, why? It's really sad that people feel because Hat Man has come for them, and he really goes for their soul. I mean, he pulls people right out of their bodies. They're staring at him. He yanks them out and starts beating them and saying, "I'm taking you with me." Hello. They really feel like he is going to get them one day. He's seen walking out of rooms where people have just died. I mean, he is. I have had near-death experience authors come on and say, "Oh, light at the end of the tunnel." I said, "Yeah, what about the ones that don't have light at the end of the tunnel?" "Oh, this man in a suit comes with a hat." "Oh, really?" So he is part of what death is, bringing people to that point. So if he's coming around too often, I'd be worried, yeah. But it doesn't mean it's the end. It doesn't mean that you're spiritually screwed eternally. There's always a way into your last breath to find the good, to focus on the good, to find the faith, to know that there is an opposite effect to what it is that you're staring at, that you feel so threatened by. So, I think that one of the misinterpretations that I hear out there are, people who, it's a small handful of people, honestly, who feel like, I think the Hat Man's my guardian. I'm like, guardian? Really? What'd he do? Well, he scares me. He might come and threaten me sometimes. But one time, my abusive father got punched in the face by him. I'm like, oh, that's a positive? I'm like, okay, honestly. And another misinterpretation is, I guess this is kind of ego kind of talking a bit too, where a person has been terrorized, say, by, I should say not terrorized, but they witnessed the Hat Man. He's menacing, he's staring, he hasn't done anything yet, but the person isn't scared, so they feel like he's okay. I'm like, so you're not scared of him because you see him, so you're tough enough where you're not scared, so he's a good guy. That is really odd to me. People, a very small percentage of people feel that way. So that's not even close to being good. I mean, the Hat Man punched your abuse.
Yep.
Oh, so he wants you to go to the pits of hell or wherever he wants to take you. So you hit your dad in the face to gain your confidence. I mean, wow. I don't get that.
Well, yeah. Can you have an experience that is horrific and it opens you up to some other higher spiritual experience. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm just asking this question. I'm just wondering if something can happen to you, you could be haunted or followed or creeped out or terrified by a supernatural being, and then somehow that leads to another revelation that turns out to be positive.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you something. These dark things are not always attracted to a person because they're negative. They're attracted to them because they're such a bright light, much like flies to a flame. They want to block out the light in the person. So oftentimes they're a gifted person who could see these dark things and maybe point them out to others, like, look out, here it comes. Or they're somebody who would see angelic beings. And like for myself, I was so flooded with these dark entities coming around. Once I was able to get rid of them, it was like angels and Jesus was fluttering around. I mean, it was unbelievable. I'm like, wow. So they're blocking out people's full potential. They're trying to control their full potential. They're trying to control their future. And their impact. So, for those who think, oh my gosh, this stuff is coming at me because I played with a Ouija board when I was 12, I'm like, that might have attracted them initially, but you're not eternally screwed. You do have the ability to be done with this and be done with them and see the real potential come forward when you're able to clear yourself of this negative stuff. And it happens all the time. It really does. So, it's and I'll tell people too, it's like, well, they're like, well, what do I do? It's like, and I'll say, bless your house yourself. And they're like, oh, okay. I called the priest over. It didn't help. And I'm like, no. I said, what were you doing when the priest was there? It's like, oh, sitting in the corner. I'm like, well, it's your house though. So it has to be your faith that kicks this thing to the curb. I often hear it doesn't work. It's like, well, yeah. And it's like, oh, let's sage the house. I'm like, are you Native American? No. Why are you doing that then? I mean, it's just, it's like why don't you just get I don't get it. Get a feather and sage. Just like, that's not what I was taught. You just get a little water and a little spring water. And I use my cross necklace and I bless my house with that. And I wear my cross necklace. I don't take mine off because, I mean, imagine this. I've had people about to call into my show or write me, and the Hat Man or the Shadow people really start abusing them and threaten them if they're going to reach out to me. I mean, these things hate my guts, and the feelings are mutual. So I know they're just waiting for an opportunity, but they're not welcome in my home. I sleep very well at night. So people don't know. It's like, how can I be okay? These things, especially Hat Man, come for year after year, night after night. 40 years I've had people write me, I've had this thing come at me for 40 years. Imagine that, living in that kind of terror. And then to try to go to work and live a normal life. It's not easy. So every time people are ignoring the possibilities of the paranormal, imagine those you are closing off and are essentially torturing them by not being open to these things. I mean, there's so much going on out there. And I alluded to, I had spoke to somebody that was in charge of alien abductions and how the alien abductions were changing. And they're changing to be demonic. This was from the lead person at MUFON. They're changing to be demonic. And it's like, well, hold on. Are the aliens looking any different? No. Like, yeah, they're still demonic though, huh? They're possessing people, causing people to do awful things. And for the longest time, I've always associated shadow people with alien beings. They've been seen right alongside of them. I mean, I watched, this is crazy. I like I said, I wake up when weird stuff is around. I woke up because a shadow spider was like dropping down off the ceiling towards my face. Like, it's just like the Aliens movie. I'm like, oh no. And it goes to retract, and it folded its legs in, and it formed a gray alien being's face. I'm like, wow.
Wait, it retracted like a robot would, and kind of formed this alien face? Is that
not a robot? It kind of like morphed, almost like smoky morphing to a gray's face. And I'm like, I saw you. I sat up. I'm like, I saw you. I'm like, ew. Oh, I was so just furious.
Well, what
yeah.
is the connection between those two? What's going on there?
So there's reptilians, there's praying mantis, there's Nordics. Those are the more common ones that are known to be somewhat abusive to people. And then the gray beings, of course. And I couldn't understand the correlation between them either, especially after I had personally been attacked by a reptilian being.
Wait,
I
so
thought
you're saying it's the white people are being abusive?
That these different beings are abusive to people. So these different beings are abusive. And I'm like, well, what's the correlation between all these beings?
Yeah.
What's that? So
I'm sorry. I just wanted to interject. Yeah, I just always heard that the Caucasian Nordic people are supposed to be like these highly elevated, progressive. No, not so much.
No, you'll also hear the stories of them directing the Greys on what to do. Travis Walton's story, his ultimate story was, who was in charge? Oh, the Nordics. I mean, it's like he was quite I don't think what they did to him was a good thing. I think he beat up a Grey and a Nordic came in. He thought he was rescued. They pinned him down. It's like, okay, so no, they're not good guys. I think there may be some, that are not quite associated, but they don't hang with the Greys. But some people want to paint their Grey to be the wonderful one. I'm like, great, enjoy them. I don't like them. But the one element that seems to connect all of them are the shadow beings. These shadow beings are honestly pulling their strings, influencing them just as they do people. And so some of these beings are quite conquered by these shadow beings. And that's why I called my book The Secret War. We're battling an entity. We always think, Revelation is going to be in the clouds. We're all going to sit and see it. Apparently, it's going on already in the privacy of people's homes. They are having to deal with a battle for their soul and not have a person to back them up oftentimes. So imagine that. They are fighting for their very souls, light against dark, and they have few to turn to for help and understanding what's going on. Myself and that college roommate, we experienced another being, and that's a whole other element to this story. A positive alien being who, when in the midst of all these shadow beings were coming and attacking, and here's my Pentecostal strict roommate, suddenly gets an alien, jumps on the hood of her car and starts speaking through her. And she was very closed off to these things, by the way. She hated the topic of aliens. Even though she saw odd things, she didn't know how to categorize it. And she had a being start speaking through her, literally through her, using her mouth to speak. And we learned a whole slew of things and what these negative beings were. And it sounds like sci-fi and I just didn't even know what to think of it. It was so out of this world. To give a little bit of insight on it. I mean, she went to school. I'm sitting at home. She calls me crying hysterically. Something jumped on the hood of her car. I'm like, what are you talking about? We meet up later. We're sitting I'm from Milwaukee. We're sitting at the lakefront talking, and she's like, it was the wildest thing. She's like, but it wasn't scary. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you saw an alien? I don't get it. And then she says, and she is Puerto Rican, very thick accent, and she goes, I feel like I need to meditate. I'm like, meditate? We're talking about an alien on the hood of your car. What are you talking about? I didn't even know she meditates. She closes her eyes for a split second, and all of a sudden her accent reduces, and she says, I've been waiting to speak to you for a very long time. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, Samantha? What's going on? And it's like, oh, this is not Samantha. I'm like, oh. I'm like, she pulling my leg. I'm like, what's going on here? I was just in a twilight zone. And I'm like, and they says, well, I'm what you would call an alien. I'm like, oh, sure you are. I'm like, come on, Samantha, what's the deal? And it's like, I said, if you're an alien, where are you? Oh, I'm in a ship very high up. I'm like, oh, then bring your ship down. I'm being a smart aleck. And it's like, oh, no, I cannot do that because your people can shoot the craft out of the sky. It's like, But sometimes when I'm low enough, I can project an image of myself. I'm like, well, what a great idea. Why don't you go and do that? I'm just like pulling, what the heck? And lo and behold, the car filled with a hum and this fleshy, like blob kind of shape formed between us in the seat. And I'm like trying to squish myself out of the car. Like, okay. I see something. And I'm like, ooh, but it's really out of focus. And it's like, well, that cannot be helped. You have weak human eyes. I'm like, ooh, okay, an insult. But
sassy too.
Sassy, yeah. And I know we have little time, so I'm trying to squeeze a lot of it. But it was really a profound moment. My friend comes forward, she's like, oh my god, what just happened here? I'm like, I saw something in the car. And she didn't read in English books very much. We get back to our shared apartment. She starts reading several of my UFO books, and she thought, I was part of that UFO group, and she's like, oh, you're crazy friends. She was like, can I call them? Oh my God. And she was just really worked up. And it took us a while together to figure out, was that real? Can you do it again? And so she's like, well, let me try. And whenever she would go into this meditational state that she called prayer, she just prayed that way, but it was like a meditation. This being would pop up, and not physically, not projecting, but I was like, spoke about things she didn't know, and just profound. And that's a majority of my book, The Secret War, is based on some of those interactions, and the shadow people. That's how I got my answers about those things. I didn't know what I was dealing with, and how to get rid of them. And it was so much.
Yeah,
it was so
much.
Funny.
I was going to ask you, how do you know the things that you know? I mean, other than the actual physical experience. But yeah, to know the background, to know where they came from, how they're working together.
Yeah, I didn't, I wish I could take credit for it, but it's one element that I'm more hesitant to talk about, even though I have it all over the place saying this is how I came across this information. But people are like, what, channeling aliens? Blah. My friend would never, ever say she was channeling because she just thought that was the craziest thing you should ever hear. But turns out if people that are familiar with alien contact stories, people go to be hypnotically regressed, and they go to speak, and sometimes the being speaks through them while in hypnosis sessions. I mean, this is quite common, and I have seen it happen by 2 other people too. I mean, just it's not something that's so rare. At the time, I didn't know that. I just know that I saw something in the car, and this being was talking through my friend, Pentecostal, big skirt, long hair wearing friend, who really didn't dig that kind of topic. So just wild stuff. And I was in college in a difficult study, and I wrote my first book in the middle of school because I felt it was that important to get out there, and I haven't stopped talking on this stuff ever since. And much to my parents' detriment, they were like, can't you write under a pen name? I'm like, Dad, you didn't have any sons. I'm going to abuse this last name. I'm sorry.
That's so funny. How do they feel about it? All this? How do they feel about it?
Oh, we were all in a haunted house. They experience odd things. They know this stuff is real. And as time has passed, I'm learning things about my dad that he's had some odd things himself go on that he's quite aware of, some things in regards to UFOs and things. And so it's like, at first they wanted me to put a pen name, but then they're like, whatever, they understand. I mean, they get it. And I think they're quite fascinated by it. It's been an interesting ride. It really has. And I wouldn't change any of it. I really wouldn't. Because I'm able to be in a unique position. And one of the number one things I enjoy doing is having people write me from everywhere, and to know that they can tell me as much detail as they want, and I'll respond on my radio show oftentimes for the first 30 minutes, reading off these emails and giving some honest advice. I'm not a guru or a psychic, just someone who's been there, seen it, experienced it, and got over it. And so I welcome people to go to my main site, HeidiHollis.com, and write me at dusoutlander@gmail.com. That's Dus with a D as in David. But yeah, because I mean, there's help. Work is being done on trying to rid people of this evil, and it can be done. And get a little faith. It doesn't hurt. It really doesn't, Alan. I understand you're a Catholic. I mean, I'm not Catholic. I went to all women's Catholic college. I'm not Catholic. I'm Christian, and it is what it is. I'm not shy to say it. And on my radio show, I talk about it quite openly because, heck, we're talking about demons and evil stuff and horrible things. Why can't we talk about the good without it being on like South Park, Goofy, or Family Guy? You know, we could talk about Jesus being okay. It's okay. It's okay, Alan. I'll accept you, and so will Jesus.
Thank you. My soul appreciates it.
Okay, good.
So, I have to say, I mean, your sense of humor has got to be able to help you deal with all this stuff.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I was a comic strip artist, for crying out loud. Humor is my thing. I put it in all my books, even the Hat Man book. I mean, that's as dark as I've ever written, and I had to lighten it up because how can you reach people if you're not dealing with this type of topic as humanly flawed as you would anything else? And some people might think, oh, you're not taking it serious enough. I'm like, what does it help to be serious always about this? And somebody revealed something to me just a couple of days ago that had read a book on this exorcist who had done over 1,000 exorcisms. Imagine that. And he said there's a few things that these demons don't like. They don't like to be laughed at. I said, no way, that's awesome. And they cannot read your mind. And I'm like, very cool, and it's nice to know. And it's nice to know I'm ticking them off, but it also is cool to know they can't read my mind about, a lot of people are so fearful they're going to experience something evil again if they've seen it once. And I'm like, don't anticipate it. Don't talk about it. Leave it alone. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's good to keep things light to an extent, but to keep it serious at the same time. But
right,
yeah.
You don't want to lose track. You don't want people to forget that this is actually a serious thing. But in order to deal with that seriousness, you have to find the lighter side of life. Yeah. Yep.
Definitely.
All right, so anybody listening, if you want to find out more about Heidi, go to www.heidihollis.com. Heidi, where else would you like them to go to find out more about you or contact you? Which you just mentioned the contact info, but go ahead. Yeah.
Go to theotherfword.com, ficklefinders.com, paranormalpledge.com, UFO, the number 2, the letter U.com. I mean, my goodness, I have all the links off from HeidiHollis.com, though, so you can go there and check everything out. I have a YouTube channel and all this good stuff. And the OutlandersComic.com, which is getting animated right now. Oh, yes.
No way.
Because some people are showing interest, and it's on the front page of InceptionRadioNetwork.com.
True story.
Yes, it is. It's doing very well, and it's not been out that long, and people are just like, where can I see the cartoon? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not, it's just a comic strip. But some interest is being shown, and it's getting made. So check it out and subscribe to get the newer ones. And it's getting more and more interesting. I could tell you that. I've been working night and day on drawing, lots and lots of drawing and writing.
Well, I have to ask you before our time runs out. Is there a way? Is there something that you can do if you feel like someone else is being haunted by shadow people or tall men? Anything that who is not being haunted, is anything you can do for somebody else?
Well, you can help them in blessing their home. That's a big one. They need to take part in it. It's nice if everybody that lives in the house participates in the blessing, but you can join them in the blessing and encouraging them. And some people need that little push of, believe, but have some faith that this will work. It works every time, Alan. I mean, honestly, you bless every corner, get every door. I mean, honestly, there's a method to it. I wrote about it in the Hat Man book. how to go through your house, and it's okay. You can do this. You really can. It's even with aliens, anything that's negative that's in your house you don't want there, you can get rid of it. And have no doubts, you really can. Get some faith back, people. Get it back, because even if Santa Claus feels depleted where his sleigh won't ride because children don't believe, well, how do you think God feels if we're dropping our faith? It's really sad, and the negativity is growing out of control. You could take a peek in Chicago and the statistics of murder and tell me negativity isn't running rampant. We got to change it.
Are you a fan of Twin Peaks? Have you been watching the new series?
You know what? I need to. I need to watch it, but no, I haven't seen it.
So
is it good?
Good.
Okay,
yes.
I'm gonna watch it.
if you can handle David Lynch style, yes, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
One of the most strange things. But one of the words that some of their evil characters, from the Black Lodge use is garmonbosia, and essentially it is pain and suffering, and that's what they're trying to feed off of, pain and suffering. Pain and sorrow. And it just reminded me of the Hat People and the Tall Man, and I wonder if by
shadow people,
by seeking to drain energy from other people's pain and sorrow, it's a way of feeling empowered themselves.
Yeah, it seems like such a petty thing. Why would something work so hard for that? I'm like, well, why did explorers come to this country? They wanted the land, they wanted the power. Why did they dominate and put others in slavery? That it's a rather basic need that beings seem to have, because they keep doing it to each other. So why would these beings not be any better just because they ride a fancier ship? I mean, aliens and shadow people, I'm saying I group them because evil is evil. And they all respond to, in Jesus' name, leave? What is that? What are we talking about? I hate to say, I used to be so like, oh, the church is wrong. These aren't demons. They're not all demons. No, there are some really, really good beings out there that speak of God.
Okay, well, let's leave it on that. Yeah, let's leave it on that note, because the clock is ticking. We're almost out of time. And
yes.
Heidi, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we can
have
our little Inception Radio Network party here.